Welcome back to our series, Understanding CBET. And today we are continuing in the series of video on assessment, the fourth principle, Understanding CBET. And you have been looking at the process of competency-based assessment, and you're still under planning for the assessments. And you have been looking at support materials. So we started looking at occupational standard and specific area of our interest in assessments. Then we'll be looking at how do we then conduct competency-based assessment. Then we'll be finalizing now on reviewing competency-based assessment. So welcome all. So today we are looking at our second document, and that is assessment requirements. When we're talking about assessment requirements, we're saying that is a document which guide assessment of candidate in specific assessment areas. So there are a set of criteria that defines what learners need to demonstrate in order to achieve a particular learning outcome. And therefore, you're saying that the specific areas that the assessment requirement guides on, one is what the candidate will be assessed on, and that is addresses the unit of competency. Two, which assessment method will be used, and we did talk about different assessment methods. So the assessment requirement is going to outline which assessment method that will be used for that particular unit of competency that need to be assessed. The other bit is who is to assess the candidate. So it outlines the requirements of that assessor needs to meet for you to conduct assessment of this learning outcome for a particular unit of competency. It also guides on where the assessment will be conducted. So you are talking about assessment context. So in which area will you be conducting the assessment? So it outlines the the context rather. Therefore, it is a crucial tool for developing in assessing learning outcomes, as they also help the assessors to design assessments that are fair, accurate, and aligned with the specific learning outcomes. And therefore, it's a very important document that addresses those areas. So, what are these assessment requirements? So, it specifies three specific areas. One is performance evidence. And when I talk about performance evidence, specific specifies the ability to complete tasks, processes, or products whose evidence need to be collected by an assessor to determine performance competency. So basically, these demonstrate what a learner can do. So it's going to specify those performance evidence. The other bit is knowledge evidence, and we are talking about knowledge evidence. We are saying that a learner must be able to demonstrate the knowledge that is required to effectively complete a task outlined in the elements and performance criteria of a particular unit of competency. So, what are those knowledge areas that we need to assess? The other bit is assessment conditions, and we did talk about different conditions as outlined in occupational standard. To be on assessment resources, assessment environment. It also specifies the standard and legal requirements for specific unit of competency. It also addresses assessors' requirements, assessor qualifications. So basically, when I talk about assessment requirements, we are looking at these three areas: performance evidence, knowledge evidence, and assessment conditions. And is at this point, it's good to note that each course or unit of competency must have its unique assessment requirements. So if you want to know that, probably you need to visit all the units in the OS the unit of competency, and you see uh, the uniqueness when it comes to assessment requirements. So it's good to understand that all unit of competency of a particular qualification, they must have a unique assessment requirements. Bring me who are the users of this document, the assessment requirement. One are the talking about the quality assurance officers, and we'll be addressing that aspect of quality as we move on. So, quality officers, assurance officers, they check whether the assessment was conducted in line with the requirements. And those requirements have been highlighted as part of the unit of competency, from elements to performance criteria. The other users of this document are assessors and verifiers. And basically, they use this tool to guide different variables to assess the number of assessments, resources that are required, and environment. And we did talk about all these aspects. So, as assessors and verifiers, we'll be using this document now to provide those guides on specific resources that are needed, number of assessment, and this number of assessment we will be looking at it when you're talking about performance criteria weighting. So how many assessment do you need to conduct, resources, and the context at which then the assessment will be conducted. The other users of these documents are the trainees. So how do they use this document? It just guides the trainees in the areas of assessments. Because I'm talking about unit of competency, looking at the elements, and of course the performance criteria. So it guides them on those areas of assessment. So basically, those are the users of assessment requirements. So who develop this tool? And these requirements are usually developed by TVET CDAC. So as trainers, maybe you'll be called upon at one point to develop them. But these are tools that is developed by TVET CDAC at their level, and of course with the industry experts with relevant qualifications. So at this point, you will not be required as trainers to develop this tool. Bring me what is the purpose of this document. One is to ease what you call competency-based assessment. That means it makes the assessment process more clear, more objective, and fair. The other purpose is it specifies requirements which trainees need to meet. And we have looked at the performance evidence, knowledge evidence, and assessment condition. So all those requirements, it's able to address that. The other bit is for quality assurance, and we have looked at how it supports quality issues when it comes to assessment. The other bit is it directs development of assessment tools. And basically, you're going to look at how it does that. It be used to develop what we call performance criteria weighting, because it addresses all the elements and all the performance criteria for that particular unit of competency. The other bit is it guides on the environment and resources required. And again, this is identified in our OS for each unit of competency. What is the environmental context or assessment context? And what are the resources that are required to conduct this type of assessment? And the last bit is it identifies the qualification for the assessor. So as assessors, what are these requirements that we need to meet before we conduct any assessments? So those requirements are also addressed in these documents. And therefore, because there are many other purposes on why we develop uh, assessment requirements. So let's populate the assessment requirement. So I have a copy of the template, and you're going to use this to populate one unit of competency. On my right, I have my occupational standard for one of the qualification, and that is medical laboratory technologies level 6. So we'll be using this starting from here. We develop other tools using the same unit of competency. So I want to use one of the units that I teach, that is perform. So it's a core unit, and that is perform hematology or hematological tests. So I'm going to use this unit of competency to populate my assessment requirements. So assessment requirement 4. So you pick the unit code. So if you have a soft copy, it will be easy. And then you need again to pick what does that unit of competency is. So you need to specify it. So copy paste the actual unit of competency. So let me use a different color for that purpose. So this is an assessment requirement for this unit of competence. You have picked the unit code, and the exact unit of competency. So that's on the cover page. We talked about assessment requirements, uh, identifying specific areas that is required in assessment. So one is performance evidence, knowledge evidence, and assessment condition. So we need to populate all the performance evidence. So there must be demonstrated evidence that the candidate has completed the following task as at least once in line with the workplace procedures. So here we are going to have all the elements and their corresponding performance criteria. Again, just copy paste all the elements with their corresponding performance criteria. So you do this for all the unit of all the elements and all the done. I picked all the elements. There are 6 elements with their corresponding performance criteria. Let's move to the other part is the knowledge evidence. And here saying that the knowledge evidence includes knowledge of. So where do you get this in our OS? So you move down to the required knowledge and skills. So we have the skills, but we're interested with knowledge. So the individual needs to demonstrate knowledge of. So you need to pick all these and paste it there for all the required knowledge. And then it also specifies the assessment conditions. And there are various conditions that have been assessed or that are needed for this unit of competency. So some that have already been given, but again, you need to specify. For example, assessment resources requirements include So where do we get assessment resources? You go to your evidence guide, and we have this. So these are the resources that will be needed for this unit of competency. Uh, so it's good to read everything that has been provided. We also talked about assessor requirements, and some of which are outlined here. So one, for those training in a TVET institution, they must be licensed by TVET authority as trainers. Number two, registered by TVET CDAC as assessors or verifiers in the unit of competency. And then for industry experts, they must be registered by TVET CDAC as assessors and verifiers of this unit. So basically, this is how you populate different portions of assessment requirements. So thank you. In our next video, we'll be looking at another important tool, and that is assessment plan. So thank you for your support. Let's continue to subscribe, share and like the videos. Let's meet in our next series, Understanding CBET. Thank you.